Who's all on Zoom? Nobody? I got somebody that's gonna join or said she was gonna join unless she's on a call. So we'll need to get this approved by the council, but fire department's gonna replace Penny with Jessica. Okay. Reason being, Jessica has been doing a lot of social service type work for the department.
Okay.
So some of you have already probably met her. And we felt she'd probably be a better advocate on or better fit on this committee, so, I'll give you her name so we can bring that.
Is it, you want that on the 25th agenda
Sure.
or tomorrow night?
Whenever, as long as it's before our next meeting here. So, but she's on duty today, so she was gonna try to sign in. Is that a Jessica Hard? Oh, then that's her.
We don't really have any action items, so technically you don't need a quorum. We'll proceed with the
Okay,
agenda. You just can't take any formal action.
that sounds groovy. Let's go ahead and call this meeting to order at 2:01. Can we get a roll call, please?
Use the microphone, Bethany.
There he is.
There he is.
Here.
Is not
Here.
Shepherd. Lindsay Palmer. Titus. King.
Present.
Here.
Penny Codimo is absent and Jessica Hari sitting in for today.
Dan Gassner. Heather Crowe Martinez. Here. No more.
Okay. Yeah, thank you. Any public comments? Any public comments from Zoom? The land of Zoom. Okay, I'd like to welcome Jessica Hari. She's gonna be the new representative for Jefferson County Fire and EMS. Say hi, Jessica.
Hello, thanks for having me.
Jessica, your name will be brought forward to the city council here soon, at least before the next meeting, to get you appropriately seated by the council.
Thank you.
Anybody know, Jessica's a paramedic and firefighter with the department, and she has strong interest in what we're doing here, so we'd be happy to have her. Okay, regular agenda, shelter update. Is that you, Trip?
That's me. Yeah, so we had talked about expanded hours. As everyone knows, we're open from 6 p.m. to 7 a.m. And then for winter warming hours, we're always open from Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. to 1 p.m. But here for the last month or longer, we've also been open on Saturdays from 7 a.m. to 1 p.m. and Sundays, Saturday and Sundays. It's because it's been cold, right? It's been unbearable out there. So I am going to start scheduling people for those days also. And then we have, hopefully a little kind of a partnership going with a few different resources to maybe open up a couple more hours in the afternoon from 12 to 3, with, some other resources in town. I don't know if we need to talk about that yet, but.
You could get number 1 and 2 blended.
Oh,
together.
blended together. But we've been talking with, BestCare and, the health department on maybe doing a partnership from the hours that were closed from 1 to 6. So maybe partnering with them to take a 12 to 3 slot to offer their resources to our folks who are already there. And it's the best time to catch them. So that's why we're hoping to get a calendar together for next month and
Fantastic.
start working together as much as possible. Yeah. So really not 24/7, but 19 hours of the day. So we're trying to get there and we hope to get there. So with the help of everyone, I think we can get there.
The long-term goal.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
That's my long-term goal.
Wow, that's a big improvement.
So let me just say that, I actually don't take that lightly. But to me, I'm very appreciative of that because I know our code enforcement officers and a lot of others have seen some of the impact of the shelter not being open during our, real cold weather.
Mhm.
So thank you. Thank you, Heather and Public Health for any sort of partnership there. I really appreciate that.
It's our pleasure for sure. Least we can do, right? Get people out of the weather.
And then come summer, when it gets hot, we'll do the cooling again, too.
Sure.
But we'll flip those hours, of
Sure.
course.
Well, thank you for that update. Any questions on the shelter, for the shelter? Okay, best care.
Okay, so. So last Thursday in another meeting, we shared with the group that our BestCare Bird Engagement Center is open. And that that is the new site that we have that's a block past the county commission office where Brightways Counseling used to be. And so furniture is coming in by the day. This is Michelle Elliott. She is my bird, substance use disorders and community engagement team program manager. And so I just brought her as a guest today to be able to talk a little bit about the Bird Engagement Center and what that's gonna entail and what we can do there, if that's okay, Mr. Chin.
Yeah.
Mr. Mayor. Mr. Chin. Yeah.
Hello, as Heather said, the Bird Engagement Center is located over by the Brightways, where Brightways used to be. Our hours are going to be 6 AM to around 11 or 12 in the morning, 12 PM. And we are going to have staff there throughout the different hours, peer supports, case manager, a substance abuse clinician to do treatment on demand when people come in. We're gonna allow people to come in, and it's not just for the houseless population, it's people who are struggling with substance abuse and typically find themselves in a situation where they want to get clean and sober, but they're not quite ready to be. So we're going to allow them to come into the drop-in center. They can be under the influence as long as they are not causing havoc. So we're going to have different groups, activities going throughout that period of time. We're going to feed them some at least one hot meal a day. They'll have snacks, sandwich stuff. The clinician that is attached to the burn program, it's basically treatment on demand. They come in, we get them a drug assessment and get them started in services there at the drop-in center, whether it's they come in and they learn life skills. They learn about the harm reduction piece of addiction, and just being there and being supported by the different peers and the clinicians there. Have a case manager on staff. We have an employment specialist who's on staff. We have a housing manager that oversees both of the housing units that we have. The fire press that is on C Street, First and C. And then we also have another 3plex over on H Street. So we've been able to offer people who want to start looking towards being clean and sober. So we send them off to detox. If they successfully complete their detox without being kicked out or leaving, then we let them come back and engage in services up at the South Y. And then we'll offer them housing, and we've probably got, I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 of them in housing right now and doing some services there. But I think once we get the ball rolling, things are really gonna be fruitful for those who, you know, it's a place for them to come and be off the streets. And the longer that we can get them engaged in stuff, in services at the drop-in center, they're not drinking, they're on the streets, and so we're really, really excited about getting up and running and
Well, and I also want to emphasize that we're purposely having really long hours of operation to try to give people a place to go, people that are houseless, you know, that and it's so great what Truett's doing with the shelter, and we're going to also speak to that and how we could partner with them. Some plans are in the works, but that you know, they're often struggling with addiction issues that are untreated, as we're all aware. And that is something that we welcome, kind of being a pseudo sobering station for them. I mean, please note that, you know, it's not a hospital setting. I don't have physicians, paramedics, or nurses running around the center. There's peer support specialists, recovery mentors, case managers, and SED clinician, you know. They are CPR trained and Narcan administration trained, but we really hope that the folks that, you know, struggle with chronic and severe addiction issues will come, have a safe place, not just to hang out, but to begin to connect them with housing and case management and employment and detox services, just a whole array of services that we offer that they're so in need of. And I think that because the staff that are there are all kind of street social work oriented, you know, they go out and pound the pavement and are not afraid to roll up their sleeves, so that'll be a good connection. Like 3/4 of my burn engagement center staff are actually tribal member staff. And so one is bilingual, and so we're hoping that it'll be, you know, inviting and engaging, and they'll take some first steps into recovery, which I know that we've been sending anywhere from 4 to 8 people per month, and for the last several months into detox services. So, and then often, like Michelle said, if they finish, then they come back and start to engage in real treatment services, live in our treatment houses.
And we've had probably more than a handful that are actually still in services and still in sobering. So it's been a good start to really offer that, and like I said, there's a little over a handful of people who have actually went to detox completed and are in housing and are, you know, services today and bringing sober. So,
And also, since our last meeting, Michelle and several of her bird staff met with the ordinance, the 2 ordinance individuals or officials. And they were able to exchange contact information.
You mean our code enforcement people?
What's that?
Oh, our code enforcement people.
Yes.
Okay, yeah.
Sorry, code enforcement people. And in the meeting, they, you know, one of them said, oh, I really have seen you guys around. I didn't know you would work for people. So that's good. They know how to get a hold of each other, and they have each other's information,
Building bridges.
work cell phones or whatnot. So I think that we're tightening up there in terms of that collaboration and the ability to, you know, call each other if we're aware, you know, of maybe a settlement of people, and see if we can go out together or let the other one know we're going out. You know, we heard there's a group of people here, we're gonna do some outreach for them.
How do these people get to treatment? Do you have issues with transportation? Because the treatment's in Redmond, right?
We take them,
You take them?
we take
Okay,
them all around the state.
okay.
BestCare's residential, SUD residential programs and detox services are in Redmond and Klamath Falls. We always use staff to transport them, recovery mentors and peer support specialists. And then sometimes we access other treatment programs. In the last year, we've had several over at a program, a state license program over in Baker City. You know, sometimes we get them to Nara in Portland. It just depends. But we always provide the transportation because we want to continue that support, kind of a door-to-door type of handoff. And then, you know, we pick them up from treatment. We stay, we do Zoom calls with them throughout their course of treatment, their episode of treatment. And then the other thing that I wanted to share is that, at a meeting that Truett and Katie and I were at last week in Will, we learned about the expanded hours. Side note, Michelle is just back from a week of planned PTO. So today is her first day back. And I shared with her about the expanded hours and that we'd like to partner with them to have, one of our burn grant staff up there, a minimum of 3 times a week on a schedule. We talked about how important it is for a schedule and to print something up that that they can advertise and post for people that are staying at the shelter to actually know, like, oh, Wednesday, the employment person is gonna be here or whatever. I'm gonna see if they can help me type up my resume or help me fill out this application or, you know, whatever. And so, Michelle is just back and has a lot on her plate, but she is working on putting together a proposed schedule that she will send to Truett and myself. So we should be able to report back on how that's going next week. That's it.
Excellent, thank you. Next on there is, preparing for severe weather and support and resources. So we know the shelters expanded their hours. That's great. Was there anything else that needed to be put on that?
I think it's kind of maybe a hybrid agenda item. We probably most likely argued that, but
Yes.
Just in the past, you've talked about capacity. How's your capacity right now and what are you thinking for the rest of the week?
Yeah, we talked about the last meeting. Go ahead, Jean. Yeah.
So, yeah, so it depends on the time of month. First of the month, it can be what would be considered normal because a lot of them get their stipend check and they'll check into a hotel for a week or whatever. We have had several nights, however, that we've been above capacity where we have, the women's dorm has been full, the men's dorm has been full, plus 3 extra men in the flex room, and then up to 4 people on mats in the living room. So there's several nights that we've been above capacity. Anytime we're putting people on the floor, that's definitely above capacity. We have 5 cots, and after that, we have no more room, even on overflow. So with the first couple of weeks of the month are usually slower than the last half of the month. And again, that's because they have their stipend checks and they're staying in hotel rooms.
Out of curiosity, especially when we're above capacity, have you noticed all the people you have in the shelter, are they all locals or are you attracting anybody that's from out of the
No,
area?
they're not, they're, and that's a misconception with a lot of people. When I went to a meeting in La Pine one time and I said, what people don't realize, unless it's a big city like Portland,
Mhm.
is that most of your homeless grew up here. And it's happened in La Pine too, right? And I said that in a meeting and the lady's like, I don't believe it. She asked the deputy, who'd happened to be a high school teacher in his previous life. And he says, no, it is true that he would had taught their parents in high school. Now he's seeing their kids out at the camps. So that is true, most of us. Right now, we are at about 54% native, about 6% what I call other, meaning Hispanic or Asian American, African American, and then about 40% Caucasian. Are about 65% male, the rest are female, and our average age is 46.
Thank you. I mean, I kind of felt that just for the future, because I've been out there, I've recognized some of them from back when I worked the streets desk.
Yeah.
But I've seen a couple of things on Facebook here and there. There's always people who shoot off their mouth who really don't know anything to say something. I'm like, I just wanted to ask.
And the reasons all vary, whether they lost their job or it is substance use, or sometimes it's generational. It's been all their lives. They know no other way of life. But a lot of it is economics. I would say, other than the generational ones, the biggest ones is economics, can't afford rent or lack of employment or substance use. Those are probably the biggest 2 reasons that I see.
The housing is really becoming quite the issue.
It definitely is.
So-
And we have people that work, that have jobs. But on what they're paid, last month deposit and the monthly rent, BestCare's been awesome at helping a lot of our clients get into some kind of housing situation, but.
And we just, sorry.
No,
can
go
I just
ahead.
say one thing related to what you're saying? That, today we got an email from, the Pacific Source, the coordinated care organization in our region for the Oregon Health Plan Medicaid population. And they now also have some rental assistance available for individuals that maybe are on OHP, but not necessarily open in mental health or SUD services that are. So it opens up another avenue that if they're one of their members, then they can, fill out like an online application, and get some help with like first month, last month, rental assistance, so I can forward that to you.
Yeah, I
Truett.
appreciate that, yeah.
I'll send it, I have Truett's email.
One of the misconceptions that I don't think you guys have, but I see out in the world is people think people choose to be homeless. And I've met two people in the whole time I've been there who said that they choose to be homeless, which by the way, were not originally from here. They're traveling homeless, go from shelter to shelter.
Yeah.
They're both Caucasian, one male, one female, and they have chosen that lifestyle. But most of the people, if you talk to them, they would love to be in housing.
So we have two people in the area then who are from the outside area.
Two people out of all of the people that we have there. John.
Oh.
John and Dad.
I'd also point out that, a lot of times, people who are working either have criminal background or credit issues that
Credit
won't
issues,
won't
yeah.
allow them to get an apartment.
That's true. That's true. Credit issues too is a big
So-
one.
So the nice thing about this burn program, there's a program that if they come to us and say, you know, these felonies have really just been a barrier for me to get employment or housing, then we have a resource that we can send to them to and work on getting their felonies, I guess, are set aside or expunged. So that then that would not be a barrier for them to move forward.
Mm.
So, yeah, we have people on staff that are able to do that. If they're lacking a birth certificate, a security card, we can work on doing that stuff.
Oregon ID
I
or
was
something like that.
If
Driver removal form.
When I was at the US Conference of Mayors, this was a topic, the housing crisis was a topic, and I kind of shook my head when they were trying to talk about solutions, and one was manufacturing homes. And I'm like, if you're a first-time home buyer, there's a lot of, like Sally Mae or even the VA loan will not accept a manufacturing loan. So it's just like,
Yeah,
right? That's like, okay, that's a horrible
Yeah.
thing to throw in there. And the other was condos. Yeah, condominiums are brought up, which was kind of led into what we were talking about with townhomes that we're trying to get. So we put in, that was like a big thing back in the 80s, early 90s, was trying to bring that concept back because there are
Yeah.
less expensive. So it's your first time house is kind of a good way to
Mhm.
get into something and flip it around. I know they're doing something like that in Prineville because my nephew just got into a townhome. Their first time.
Mr. Mayor, I wanted to point out when you said, so two people weren't from here. Last month, we had almost 65 people unique individuals in January that stayed one or more nights with us.
Mhm.
So that you're talking two people out of 65 people.
Thank
That's the number you're looking at.
Would you consider that like an average,
Stay. Yeah.
just like an average amount of people that you see per month? Or is that?
No, January, the numbers really skyrocketed, but I would say we're close to 50 unique individuals over the year from January 1st to the 31st. We saw nearly 500 unique individuals. We get a lot of onesie twosies, and then we get people that basically live there and everything in between. We had a new person this month that stayed one night, and then that's all they came. So sometimes about unique individuals, and the time span that they're there really varies, so.
you.
Well, let me ask law enforcement a question. Are your deputies or officers seeing more or less homeless out and about? Or about the same?
I would say it's probably less, just based off of not just conversations with deputies, but people in the public. Like they've seen less. So. I've been in this community my whole life, and there's always been homeless. And so, some are tougher than others, and they just, contrary to what you believe, and they do choose, that lifestyle because they don't have to worry about anything other than where the next one's coming from. So.
I would have to agree because it's one spring thought, the tiny homes.
Yeah.
There's quite a few of them that were here that
Went to.
bottom.
And those are full.
Yeah,
But you know what, Sheriff, I interviewed a couple of years ago, a homeless guy that came in, kind of stumbled in, had gotten beat up, living out on the streets and was ready to ask for help. And we got him that help, but when I interviewed him, I asked him if he'd be okay with me asking him some questions about the homeless piece. He said, absolutely. And I asked him, what, do you have anywhere, like, do you have friends, relatives, or supports? This isn't a tribal number, and he said, I have family in Warm Springs, including parents and a number of aunts and uncles, and I definitely am allowed to live there and with them, but their rules are no drinking. And I haven't wanted to give up drinking, but I mean, if I did, I really would have somewhere to go. I just wanted to
Yeah.
continue to do this.
Yeah, we've asked that question. I've asked that question quite a bit throughout my career with people that we've dealt with in the community. A lot of it has to do with the drinking part of it. And, the reservation's a dry reservation, you're supposed to have alcohol. And so they choose to be here in Madras because of the convenience of going Safeway, going to get fast food, any of these other convenience stores that are around. And then you get the ones that, down at Rainbow Market, they'll hang out at Rainbow Market, they'll camp at Rainbow Market just because they have that convenience of going in and getting the substance that they want. So,
I think the key is to not lump everybody under the same, as being the same. I think each story is unique.
Yeah.
We've had several that have jobs and have moved on, thanks to BestCare, and housing. And then we have some of the ones that people would think would be your stereotypical homeless. And I think we see the whole gamut where we are, and we just, as we get to know them, we can see them more as individuals and not as a group, but not everybody has that luxury
Yeah.
to be able to do that.
The Madras Mission Gospel Homeless Shelter, are they affiliated with the faith-based network?
I believe didn't they merge with us
Yeah,
3 years ago?
I think that was the warming shelter
Yeah,
piece of it.
That's
Yeah,
yeah.
They're still operating the home there down.
no,
No, they merged together with, Faith-Based Network about 3 years ago, I believe.
Okay,
And
so
Tony was a part of that, yeah.
so that house is no longer,
The old church,
no, there's a house there. C Street, thank you.
Yeah. 11th, I think.
Yeah,
the men's
oh,
home.
the men's shelter.
Yeah.
That's not.
That's not, we have an occupant there, but it's not, operating yet. We're trying to focus on the shelter right now.
okay, so that house isn't being utilized then.
It's not being utilized yet.
Okay,
That'll have a different purpose than the shelter. That is a transitional housing.
transitional,
Yeah.
okay.
We don't-
But you guys still own it.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah,
Okay.
Okay. I'm kind of trying to figure out how to respond to an email I got, and as mayor, I frequently, well, maybe frequently isn't the word, but I get occasionally emails from concerned citizens. And it's kind of been my rule. I've always responded to emails unless you send me email anonymously, then I don't give you the time of day. But, for another reason, but I always try to respond back with a good educated response and something that's clear, but this person was kind of concerned about increase in crime rate and something about that house in the shelter, and I don't think my response would be, I don't think, if the crime rate has gone up, I don't think it has anything to do with those, because those people have always existed in our community. Chief, can you tell me, in your knowledge, has crime increased over the past year?
Our calls for service have actually gone down.
So. That's good to know.
Mr. Mayor, do you mind me asking what the question was?
this person had concern about, one, residents and that. It's kind of, I don't think this person really knows, but he's referring to people, is under suspicion that there's sex offenders being brought into that home and that there's, people of that type in a residential area where there's kids, schools and whatnot, and then worried about vandalism and that sort of thing. And I actually used to live not far from there. I used to live on the corner of 9th and C Street. I haven't really noticed any change in that area since I've lived there, so. Except that we have the people out from underneath the bridge, so.
Well, in that house, there's only one person, it's a caretaker.
Caretaker.
Right.
There's no residents there.
That's good to know, so.
At one point in time, you guys had 2 homes in Strawberry Heights, you still have.
Well, we have Pearson's Crossings, which is gonna be the women's equivalent.
Yeah.
And again, one caretaker, no residents at this time.
Yeah,
Oh, you guys are using that anymore, huh?
We want to.
we were up for a pretty large grant and then the grant didn't come through. So it was a pretty sizable grant, but put kind of a holding pattern on that. We gotta get some more funding for that.
And
We're working on it.
those are transitional and those will
Yeah.
be high barrier as opposed to the shelter, which is low barrier.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
they will be expected to engage in services.
I don't know if this is the right, place to mention this, but I'd like to, let's be sensitive about that last property we're talking about exposing the address to it. For many reasons.
No, I get that,
Right.
because often people are there for some kind of protection, they don't want
Right.
that to get out.
It's a really good.
Right, I understand that clearly. That's helpful,
I'd
thank
also
you.
point out it's the best maintained property in the neighborhood. Serious.
Thank you for, humoring me on that, or maybe that's not fair, but giving, allowing me to ask that and talk about that. Is there any other, issues that need to up for the committee?
I have one.
Yes.
The code enforcement officers made a presentation to the county commissioners last week, and I feel like a lot of what they were talking about is, I felt like it was just kind of pointing to a need for like coordination. And I don't know the best way to go about that. It feels like, we have a lot of, we have some resources, not a lot. But I feel like if we could somehow coordinate the resources that we have so that, we know what the others are doing, but also, just what resources are available to people. And I don't know the best way to go about that. We've kind of did a little bit of that this week through some emails, things like that, but I'm just wondering if there's a better way, or more regular way to go about that.
Well, I can for one send you my list of resources that I have for Jefferson County that's pretty extensive. You probably have most of them already. but I can
Yeah,
send you what I have.
anyways, well, sorry on this.
That's okay. So I have a thought. Why don't you decide in your shop who you think would be able to provide some of that coordination? And then I'll work with the police chief, and I can always reach out to Sheriff Paul. Because if you bring donuts, I can make sure. I'm not.
I think to your point, Katie, is that, I think we're probably poised for that conversation. Is that, one of the things that, Dwayne and Eric, our code enforcement officers, are finding is that, and I can point to a house down on First Street where that gal down there, she needs resources that the PD law enforcement can't even provide, can't even start to provide. She's a person that is bedridden and she needs in-house hospice care. We have no way of providing that, yet we're outside her residence providing all kinds of other support that we can provide. And yet we can't do anything else. She needs legal help. She needs physical help. She needs transportation to and from her medical support. And we don't have the ability to wrap all that around. So, and I think Will is right. A subset of this group should be those resources that could come together and bring, if we have to do this one case at a time, and saying, okay, this ad hoc group, who should be a part of this to address this, whether it's in the city or out in the county, who who should be part of that to address this home. Well, once we lift up that project, then where's the next one? Because they're just not in the city. Dwayne and Eric have identified them out in the county, and I went for a walkabout, as you would say, on Saturday and found some south and west of town that could probably use some of that loving care as well. So just an idea to float is that I mean, we don't have unlimited resources, but what resources we have, it might be good to just focus them a little bit one at a time.
So on that address you're referring to, I actually brought to the attention of what's called the high risk team. And you're familiar with them. And they have caseworkers from other healthcare related kind of group that's trying to figure out best way to mitigate that case. So and this committee, in fact, was kind of designed off of what that team was put together as. And so that team has a bunch of different disciplines that come together, what one agency may not have, the other does. And so
There'd be a way for us to feed that.
right. So
Does that group meet regularly or as needed?
they meet quarterly, which is kind of an issue. I wish they sometimes met more.
Yeah.
So, but I actually brought that particular person up at our last meeting, which was last month.
So Katie, why don't you let me know and we'll get something scheduled. And you don't have to think of it.
We'll do that.
So, you know, my thoughts on
Or
this
something.
is that, you know, you can create a piece of paper with resources on it. But when you're on the street and you're trying to help someone, sometimes that piece of paper doesn't actually help.
So Jessica is actually working on something. Have you been keeping up with this, Jess?
Sorry.
So Jess,
Yeah.
Jess has been working on something like this for the fire department side. And in fact, we're going to be inviting a bunch of people to come talk to our people and explaining exactly what resources are available by those particular agencies. Jessica's working on literature, like a notebook or some kind of handout, and keeping our ambulances. So we run into certain patients that have certain needs that we obviously can't provide, or maybe not be worthy for emergency department type setting. We can plug, that paramedic can plug that person to the right direction or resource. So this might be something that Jess can help out with by creating some kind of literature with the help of people like Heather, Stacy, who seems to be really good at tracking down things. We could we could put some together that could be beneficial for everybody to hand out. Is that kind of where the direction you're going?
Oh, I'm thinking more of this high risk team. I don't know that it's meeting, and maybe that's where we just make sure that, you know, everyone who's involved, or if we need to add more people to it or something along those lines. Just that I know I've been in some other multidisciplinary teams and it's very helpful. They are very resourceful, and you know, it's nice to kind of talk about, we can do this, we can do that, we can't do that. Or we've been, you know, sometimes, you know, people have been connecting with a lot of different resources, we just didn't know it. So,
Right.
you know,
I've since found out the St. Charles has some kind of a group that deals with homeless as well. I found out through the transfer center. And Bend, they're bigger in Bend and Redmond, but they may have some kind of connection here. I was wondering if that might be a good resource to bring to this table, since St. Charles is such a big part of what we're doing. So when I find out who that contact is, I'd agree to bring them in, if you think that'd be beneficial.
So I just had a follow-up question between basically what you all just said. So what I'm kind of thinking you're talking about is like what Jade's job is with Mosaic, which the behavioral health navigator, where she's the person who tracks down all the things for one specific coach, like one specific client, instead of like refer, like you go here, or go here, or go here, or go here. So it's like the runner. And then Pacific Source, of course, they have to be on Medicaid. They have different disciplines that can specialize in behavioral health, high-risk cases. So that's like a case manager for Medicaid, but they have different levels. And then they have even They will help with transportation, scheduling appointments, so all that case management is Pacific Source and there's Mosaic like Jade on the high risk team. Or high risk,
There's somebody from there that way that's on the Iris team. From Mosaic, I don't know about Pacific Source.
oh, okay, cause it might be good for some cases, especially. with the
Cause either,
population.
I think Best Care is on there, on that team, there's, Adult Protective Family Services on there, and there's, oh gosh, I'll give you an example, we had somebody who, he's dead now, so I can talk about him. He lived up on the hill, he had a stoma, he kept abusing the system to go to the hospital, so he can actually either go to the store and get more booze to pour down his tea, this kind of stuff. And, he had two sons, one, he lived in the, if you go up the hill, he lived in those little apartments up on the right. Across from Brightwood, and his son lived in an apartment next to him, he had another son in Eugene. And so the son that lived next to him was getting fed up with him, the son in Eugene said he would be willing to take care of him, so the hospital, St. Charles, was actually gonna help pay to have a medical power of attorney set up for his son in Eugene. And then, we were gonna have it transferred over there and have that taken care of, and then he died before we can actually get so St. Charles saves themselves some money right there. But the other one, we had one where somebody kept calling and, I can't remember what that whole situation was, but we solved it by building a ramp from the trailer, so they just, this team comes together, and sometimes we come up with some great stuff, and sometimes we're like, we don't know what we're gonna do with this person.
Yeah.
Sometimes we just find another nursing home to put him in, and that lasts for 6 months, and then we see him again.
Yeah.
Just knows what I'm talking about. And then but sometimes it works out well, and sometimes we just keep struggling with it.
There's a Medicare high risk team too, that deals with the like power of attorney and those things too.
Go ahead, Will, or Nick.
One thing I do want to share, so I have been, trading some emails, doing some planning work, with, BestCare's architect on their residential treatment facility, and so, this is in the planning stage, my world, so which is a good thing, because we haven't been doing this or haven't had this conversation in a while, so. The property to the north of the shelter is owned by BestCare. There's 3 or 4 parcels, and the southerly parcel is where they want to have the residential treatment facility. And so we're working on the planning element of that. They need to change the zoning of the property, upzone it, and then they'll file a site plan for that. But there's little things along the way that we do to help these projects. For example, they asked for a letter confirming that facility would be allowed there. So I provided that for them today. These are just little things. I'm working in other jurisdictions. You want a letter like that, and it feels like an act of Congress. So just I have some awareness for the need for that, and that's something I want to help move forward. If they've got funding for actual construction on that. So our hope would be that in probably June, maybe July, that the council would pass an ordinance to change the zoning on the property, and that they could move on into the construction phase of that. So if that timing works that quickly for the construction, but so that's a good thing for our community. At least I believe so, and just something we're working on.
Is that the tiny homes too, or just the residential?
So there's
treatment?
two
Yeah.
developments planned, and the kind of cottages are on the northern side.
Okay,
Treatment facility will be on the southerly side.
that's what I'm excited about, is those
Yeah.
tiny homes. Cause that'll
Yeah.
be kind of based off like Oasis Village a little bit, right?
Okay, so so when I walk away from this meeting, we'll know we're gonna work on organizing or better organization between disciplines here.
Right, it might be just seeing if the code enforcement team could be a part of this high risk team, because it sounds like they're, out there a lot and encountering a lot of things. So if they have a place to go to take, people that they're encountering, and trying to get them connected to the right resources. Maybe it's just one of those.
Usually they come on, they only talk about case numbers, and so they want you to bring up their name, date, and those kind of stuff, but I'll ask in the next high-risk team meeting, I'll ask if that's something that can, if we can make it, an approach or come. BestCare, you attend those meetings?
Yeah.
So that could be another way, so in between BestCare and, we can make those cases known.
But, yeah, but to your point, Katie, I think it'd be really good to get the code enforcement people to know what to do. Because it was clear at that Board of Commissioners meeting that they're running into folks and there's a need there. They're just, it's not their specialty.
Yeah, it feels like, they're kind of the front line, of course, and
Right.
they need,
So that
they
they,
need to take on the next step.
so that they need to know, is it that they would like to go to the high-risk team, or they just need to know which agency they should approach to?
Just who to refer somebody to, where to take that, where to refer them to.
Okay,
Not being part of a high risk team, just knowing that, hey, here's my contact at a high risk team. And here's the specifics of what's going on.
so if we could actually prevent some kind of, like what Jess is trying to do for our fire department, that could be a benefit.
Yeah.
Okay,
Right now, Wayne and Eric, two code enforcement folks don't know.
okay. So we'll include them when Jessica's working on what she's working, we'll include that for your people. And that we know we need more transitional homes and more affordable housing.
This unfortunately is true.
And donuts.
The village shop with me.
Donut shop.
Yeah, cause Eagle Bakery's only open, what, 2 mornings a week or something?
Yeah,
Can you reach out to Joe's Donuts and say?
are they still, every time I drive by there, they're like construction.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't know. Those donuts are some of the best.
I know. Is there anything else anybody needs to bring up?
I know that this is outside the city out on Grizzly Road, but while we're here, is there any groups that we can get together? We have like 4 or 5, 8 trailers that are showing up a couple miles out on Grizzly Road. I guess the grassland would be in an area, but to be able to maybe get a group out there that can go out there and say, these are resources that are available. And I know that it's outside of the city, but
No,
they're coming in here for services and things, so is there something that we can do as agencies to go out and maybe help, because I know we got kids in.
absolutely. I didn't mean for this to be, I mean, I've been talking with Mark Lynch about kind of working collaboration and be teams, because I don't want to see what happened before where they're out in the county, so they push them into the city, and so then we say, that's your problem, and then we push, I mean, that was the first thing Jeff did to me when I came here. He showed me these pictures of what's going on. I'm like, I remember when they were down further, and then when you pushed them in here, you said, well, that's city problem. So I want, exactly, we should work on this together rather than keep pushing them and pointing fingers back and forth. So yeah, by all means.
The Homeless Leadership Coalition does have a street outreach team that comes here at least once a week. And I can get you their contact information,
Yeah.
and, they do that. They just have to know where to go. That's part of it.
Yeah, they're great.
Yeah, they are great. They're amazing. They're an amazing team.
Big part of it.
Yeah.
They're great.
Thanks.
No. I don't-
Anything else?
Their contact info.
Nothing else? Okay, Katie, I'll call you later today
Yes.
about my email.
Huh?
Okay, and can I talk to you after, please? All right, anything else, Nick? All right, let's go ahead and adjourn at 2:49.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
So-
no, no, no.